The lightheartedness of a class clown's career doesn't last very long. In fact, the funniest part about being a class clown is that very quickly the reason that people are laughing at you changes. And I can tell you this from experience. It goes from a lighthearted, wow, look at this silly disruptive guy, to this, wow, look at this loser wasting his life. I'm sure glad that he's our comedic relief while we actually pursue a future. I'm sure he's gonna be just as funny when he's working that job at a rundown Burger King. As far back as I can remember, I was always that curly-haired kid at the back of the classroom causing trouble. See, I had always had the spotlight on me compared to my peers since I was really young. This was because my parents were British immigrants, and this meant that I was the only Canadian kid in the classroom with a British accent. Innocently referring to the principal as the headmaster or bringing baked beans on toast for lunch never really went down without forcing the other kids to give me a funny look, as you can imagine. But anyway, from being the one kid sounding like Oliver Twist at school, people knew who I was from a young age. As I already sounded funny and got comments for it, I kind of just took this attention and magnified it. In an effort to fit in with my peers and be well liked, the school became my circus and I became the clown. Back in grade 1, I can remember running around the vividly colorful grade 1 classroom with my teacher, Miss France's sunglasses in my hand. She chased me around the room trying to get back these designer Fendi sunglasses that her recent boyfriend had obviously just bought for her. "You can't catch me, you can't catch me." The class erupted in laughter. They always laughed. Fast forward to grade 6, and I find me and my best friend sat in the hallway facing a stone wall. See, the teacher, Mr. Hollier, had sent us both in the hallway for shooting spitballs at each other and other people in the classroom. Now, when from under his bushy gray eyebrows and bushy gray mustache, the small but stocky Mr. Hollier had told us to stop, I decided to quote the great poets of WWE's D-Generation X. I would eloquently reply to Mr. Hollier's request to stop with a, and I quote, "Suck it." Again, class laughing uncontrollably. My feeling of acceptance from my peers growing. Moving forward in time once again, and we find little Spencer now in grade 10. A little older, absolutely no wiser. This time around, my setting is my assisted math class. Yes, assisted. The year prior, in grade 9, I had done so little math that I'd completely failed the course. As holding me back a grade in the traditional sense wasn't really something that my school did for whatever reason, they decided that in grade 10 they were going to place me in a math class where the other students had genuine learning disabilities. Now, this classroom was not as colorful as back in grade 1, but there were lots of pictures on the wall. Our teacher, Mr. Stanway, was in love with large math equations, so he put up posters and pictures of them on the wall. E equals MC squared over here, and I won't even try and recite that massive jumble of numbers and letters over there. Mr. Stanway was an average-heighted man whose head admittedly kind of looked like a strawberry. In fact, when he would get upset and frustrated, it would actually also go very red. That, in contrast with his green button-ups that he would wear almost every single day to class, he really ended up looking like an upside-down strawberry. Sorry, Mr. Stanway. But that's neither here nor there. Regardless, I would never do my work. Instead, I would ask Mr. Stanway questions that would waste class time and try and make everybody laugh. "Mr. Stanway, if you could make love to an aquatic animal, which one would it be?" "Mr. Stanway, do circular trees have square roots?" "Oh, Mr. Stanway, Mr. Stanway, what's the best way to milk a squirrel?" And once again, the class would laugh, but it would soon not be at my jokes. It would be at me. Now in grade 11, naturally, students started to look towards going to college. It was about at this time that my father had just passed away. And yet, still, I was probably more concerned with fitting in with my peers and making sure that they liked me than building the kind of future that my dad would actually have wanted for me. One day, in grade 11, one of the most respected teachers at my school, Mr. Grenier, who was a French teacher, he would take me aside and have a little talk with me. Thoughtfully, he took me aside and he explained, "Spencer, you're charismatic. People like you. But if you keep acting like this, the world is going to leave you behind. You're building bad habits now that you're never going to be able to break as an adult. But the truth is, you have a lot of potential. But I just need to see more from you right now because I know you have it in you." Okay, well, I'm paraphrasing Mr. Grenier here, but that's what I imagine he meant when he said, "Your grades suck and I'm kicking you out of the French program." Regardless, I had something that ended up hitting me like a ton of bricks. For years and years, I had been the entertainment of people who were going to actually achieve something. They would be getting degrees and making money, building businesses, developing careers, and chasing dreams. I, on the other hand, was failing courses or barely passing courses. I had zero prospects for post-secondary education and had no real accolades other than a slideshow of memories of people laughing at my hooliganism. But did they accept those kinds of slideshows as requisites for university? I was pretty sure they did. Something had to change, or I was about to get a degree in flipping burgers. So I made the tough decision, but I stuck to it. I decided to be disciplined. I decided I would no longer associate with some of my previous friends who were constantly encouraging me to be the class clown. See, before I left them, every single weekend they were going out to parties and drinking, and that soon became one of my bad vices too. But I knew that if I was going to be disciplined and flip my life around, it had to start with the weekends. Instead of using my weekends to escape my week at school, I had to use them to build my future. I decided to enroll in extra classes that I knew could boost my GPA. I set a time every single week that I would use to build out my productivity for the following 7 days. I actually still use this technique to this day as a C-suite executive. If you want to hear a little bit more about that, you can look at it in this video right here. Eventually, I would crush my grades. Here are just a couple of highlights. In grade 12, I would be placed in an advanced history course. I would actually end up getting over 100% in that course because of some extra work that I did behind the scenes. Second, I would remain in the French program, graduating with something called a Dogwood certificate, which basically makes me legally bilingual. And finally, I would climb up the GPA ladder, finally graduating with a 94 average across my courses. Now, because of all of this, I would end up being admitted to the single most prestigious college in all of Canada, the University of Toronto. Now, I was finally no longer the class clown. In fact, I was the one laughing. I had really shown myself who I was capable of becoming and really starting my adult life on the right foot. Here's my message to you. In high school, it feels like all that matters is what people think of you. You want to be loved, not criticized. For me to get to a place where I felt loved and accepted, I made myself a spectacle for others. I did this by sabotaging my own potential over and over and over, until a point where I needed my most respected teacher to take me aside, my father to pass away, and the terror of becoming a loser flipping burgers for the rest of his life to finally shock me into action. Now, I am talking to you through the screen right now in hopes of shocking you into action. If you are wasting your potential being a spectacle for others, the good news is that you will probably keep them laughing. But the bad news is that very soon that laughter is not going to be with you, it's going to be at you. Use the years of your high school life as a springboard, and you're going to quickly become something incredible. Now, in the end of this story, you guys hear how it seems like I was on track to becoming an absolute beast, and I totally was. But when I got to university, something terrible happened. Something that would completely set me back and all of the progress that I had made. I actually ended up turning into the worst version of myself, and I almost ruined my entire adult life. Now, if you want to hear about that story, which I recommend that you do, in about 10 seconds, I'm going to put that video up on your screen so you can go and watch it. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Spencer. Always remember that your potential is your obligation, and so what you can become, you must become.